Finding and Using Images, Part 2, Week 4 lesson. So initially, we have some questions about finding and using images for e-learning. Where can I find images to use in my e-learning content? Why do I have to optimize and format my images for web use? Where do I even find the tools to help me do this? Finding and using images for e-learning. With the use of visuals and images, you can enhance the look and feel of your online course environment and add new meaning to your course content. However, as the first part of our lesson in Week 3 demonstrated, the decision to use a specific image or visual must be made while keeping the laws of copyright, Creative Commons, and fair use in mind. Copyright laws state that you have to get permission from the original owner to use an image in your work. Check this before you decide to use an image. However, there are a growing number of online resources, such as free image collections and libraries, that give you less restrictive options to choose from. When searching for an image, check the website to see the rules for downloading and using them. Often, there are specific areas that state the copyright information, Creative Commons license information, terms and conditions, including for educational uses, and permissions that will provide you with the specific guidelines for how you can use an image found on a site. When and how to cite an image. Many websites and authors request that you give them credit when using one of their images, and this is a good rule to follow in general, no matter how loose the image use restrictions are. But how do you give credit to the original image author? The format for citing an image is very similar to citing text resources using APA or MLA guidelines. Typically, after you use an image, include a reference either near the image or in the references section, stating the image name and information, the author, and where and when you got it from. A typical image citation would include all or most of these elements: name of author, artist, or photographer, date of publication or creation, title of work, a bracketed description of media type, example photograph or painting, publisher, production company, or museum name, location of publisher, if a museum or university, and the URL if accessed online. You can visit the link on your handout for more details on how to cite a photo or digital image. So as an example, if I use the following image, then my citation would look like this: author's last name and initial, date of creation, title of the work, publisher, the date accessed, and the URL address. Image searching. You can use the internet to do an image search using basic search engines like Google or Yahoo. However, instead of searching for random images out on the web, there are two types of resources you can use to find safe and sometimes freely usable images for your online courses. Search engines using specific Creative Commons criteria to find images, or image collection sites that offer free and Creative Commons images to use. There are specific search engines that allow you to search through image on the web that are free to use and under a Creative Commons license. Some of these include Search by Creative Commons, Flickr Creative Commons Search, Google Advanced Search, which you can restrict to Creative Commons items, and Vecteezy Search. Image collections. In addition to the general search engines, there are websites that host a collection of images that are either free to use or for education specifically, and list the specific guidelines in which they can be used. Here are some examples of these sites: Morguefile Free Photos, freedigitalphotos.net, freeimages.com, Pics4Learning. By following the specific copyright use guidelines and utilizing website and image collections, you can find many different types of images to use in your online learning materials. You're also not restricted to using just these images. You can also use photos from your own personal image collections as well. Why format and optimize images for web use? After finding a copyright-friendly image, what are your next steps? In week 1, we talked about the different file formats you should be aware of to use for specific images, such as JPEG for photos and GIF for clip art. In addition to image formats, you should also optimize your images before using them in a web format. When someone has to view a website or download a file that has images contained in it, the larger the image file size, the longer it will take for the image to load on the screen or download. This can get discouraging and sometimes annoying when you have to wait a while for a page to load, especially if the page has a lot of images or you have a poor internet connection. In order to avoid this issue, before using an image on the web, it is a very good practice to first optimize your image. What optimizing an image does is to shrink the size of the actual image file, and there are many ways to do this without sacrificing the image quality as well. There are various image editing software tools you can use to optimize your images. Photoshop is one of the more popular tools in the image editing software category. One of its features, known as Save to Web, makes it easy to save and optimize your images for web use. If you're using Photoshop, check out the page on how to use the Photoshop for Web tool. The link can be found on your handout. Besides the do-it-yourself tools, there are several online tools that do the image optimization for you. You do have less control over how the image gets optimized, but it provides a much easier and quicker method to optimize your image for web use. For this tool type, I recommend trying out an online image optimizer, such as tinypng.com, as one example. But what if you don't have a photo editing program like Photoshop, but still want to control how you optimize your images? Formatting and optimizing images. There are many different web-based and free-to-download image editing programs that you can use as well. I've listed some examples in our course resources. One example is the online image editing Pixlr, which makes it very easy to format and optimize your photos, and it's free. I've made this quick video tutorial for you on how to use Pixlr to optimize an image. Let's check it out. So we're going to be using Pixlr to optimize a fairly large file that I want to use in an online content. So we're going to go to pixlr.com, that's Pixlr.com. And there's two versions of that tool. There's an advanced photo editor and there's a quick and easy. We're going to go with the quick and easy this time. So we're going to click on that. Here we're just going to click on Open Image. And I have a file here on my desktop. Before we open it, let's see how big this file really is. So I'm just going to open here, and you can see here it's 3,870 pixels, so it's pretty large. So we're going to try to minimize the size of that, so make it easier to load on the web. So we're going to open this. Now there's two ways to go about it. One is to kind of listen to the software that's pretty much telling us that this image is too large. And I could just click here on this box that says Web and hit Apply. And then click Save. I get to change the file name if I need to. I got to choose the file type, the quality, and then click Download. The other option, if I want to have a little bit more control over the size of my image, I'm going to go and open the same image. Right here, I can just type in the size that I want, and you see that the software kind of makes it a proportionate size. And then we can click Apply, click Save. Same thing, we can change the file name, change the file type, the quality, and click Download. So now if we check that image, you can see how it's much smaller, and yet the quality has not been compromised, so it's a good solution. And this is how easy it is to optimize an image for web use. Summary. Now that you've completed the second part of the Finding and Using Images topic, you should have a good understanding of how to cite an image, where you can find images to safely use in your online courses, and why and how you can optimize an image using a photo editing tool. That's it for Lesson 4. We'll see you next week.